They say old houses remember. Every whisper, every footstep, every breath lingers in the walls. Some memories are kind, others are not. And there are rooms that should never be remembered. It was the kind of house you'd miss if you blinked while driving by. Tucked into the hills just outside of Brindle Wood, it sat half hidden behind an overgrown garden and a rusted iron gate. Clara inherited it after her aunt's sudden passing, an aunt she barely remembered in a house she never knew existed. She arrived on a gray October morning, the sky swollen with clouds. The house, though weathered, had a certain quiet dignity. A cold wind stirred the brittle leaves as she stepped inside, flashlight cutting through the gloom. The air was thick with dust and something else, something sour and old. She planned to stay only a week, enough time to pack up old things and sell the place. But something in the house didn't want her to leave so soon. Clara began sorting through the attic first. That's where she found the old photos, dozens of black and white portraits of children. Each child stared into the camera, unsmiling with dark, hollow eyes. On the back of each photo was a name and a date. But the dates didn't make sense. Some were from the 1800s, others from as recent as the 1990s. She tried to dismiss it, chalking it up to the strange hobbies of a strange aunt. But that night, as rain tapped against the windows and wind moaned through the walls, she heard it. Whispers. Faint. Almost like breathing. It came from downstairs. She followed the sound, heart pounding, until it stopped at a hallway she didn't remember seeing earlier. At the end of that hall was a door that hadn't been there before. It was a narrow wooden door, painted over too many times to open cleanly. With effort, she pried it loose. Inside was a small, windowless room, no more than 10 feet square. The air was frigid and still. The floor creaked under her steps as she explored the room, flashlight flickering. The walls were covered in writing, hundreds of names carved into the wood with something sharp. And in the center of the room was a small wooden chair facing the wall. On it sat a doll, porcelain, cracked, its eyes clouded white. She felt something shift in the air. The door slammed shut behind her. She doesn't remember how long she screamed before the door finally opened. She stumbled out, shaking, eyes wide. The hallway was gone. The room was gone. Only a blank wall remained. That night, Clara dreamed of children standing at her bedside, faces pale, eyes wide. They spoke in whispers, pleading, crying, warning. She woke up with scratches on her arms and the faint sound of giggling echoing in the walls. Determined to understand what was happening, Clara began researching the house. It wasn't easy. Records were sparse. But she found something. Between 1940 and 1995, 7 children had gone missing within 5 miles of the house. All from foster homes, all never found. And her aunt? She had been a social worker. She'd owned the house since the 70s, and yet no record showed anyone ever living with her. Clara returned to the attic, tearing up floorboards. That's when she found the trapdoor. It led to a root cellar, a cold earthen space beneath the house. The smell hit her first. Mold, rot, something worse. With trembling hands, she lit an old lantern and stepped down. The walls were covered in faded children's drawings, crayons on stone, smiley faces, rainbows, names, and in the far corner, bones, small, fragile, too many. Clara ran. Up the stairs into the daylight. She drove to the sheriff's office and showed them everything. The cellar, the photos, the trapdoor. But when they returned, the cellar was gone. That night, Clara tried to leave, packed her things, started her car. It wouldn't start. The phone lines were dead. Even the rain had stopped. as if the house had swallowed the world. She heard the laughter again, the whispers. They followed her from room to room. The children were angry now. She locked herself in the master bedroom, clutching a rusted key she'd found in her aunt's old dresser. As the lights flickered, she remembered something from her dream. Lock the room. Lock it and forget. That's the only way. The key fit the door that had vanished. When she turned it, the room appeared again, just as before. She entered, and for the first time she spoke aloud. "I see you. I remember." The doll turned its head. Clara was found 3 days later on the front lawn, unconscious, raving about names and doors and dolls. She never went back. The house is still there, empty, quiet, waiting. And sometimes, they gave us one rule in the mine: never go below level 7. Not, be careful with the drill. Not, watch the ceiling for collapse. Number just one thing: stay out of level 8. At first, I thought it was just superstition. Every old job site has its ghost stories. But down in the earth, miles beneath the surface, surrounded by endless dark and groaning stone, fear starts to feel reasonable. I got the job after I got out of the service. Small town, not many options. My uncle pulled some strings to get me on shift at Granger Mine. The pay was solid. The work was backbreaking, sure, but manageable. And the team was decent. We worked levels 3 through 6 mostly. Level 7 was under inspection for months, so it was always sealed off. Nobody ever mentioned why we weren't to go below it. If anyone asked, the older guys just went quiet. A few crossed themselves. I thought it was a joke, until 2 weeks ago, when Rodriguez went missing. He was on the night shift. Security checked the logs. His keycard pinged on level 6 at 2:13 a.m. But then, a second ping, level 8, 2:27 a.m. No return. We searched the whole shaft. Radio's dead the second we passed the level 7 gate. No camera feeds either, just static. A rescue team went down for 3 hours. Came back pale, shaking. They wouldn't say what they saw, but they sealed the level again. Welded the doors shut. We held a small vigil for Rodriguez. Management didn't want news getting out. Just another workplace accident, they said. I should have let it go. But last night, I heard him. Rodriguez, over the intercom, calling my name. His voice was faint, metallic, warped, like it was coming from a broken radio left underwater. But I knew it was him. "Mike, help me. It's dark." I tried to tell the foreman, but he threatened to fire me if I kept spreading stories. So I waited, until everyone clocked out, and then I went back down. I bypassed the welds with a plasma torch from the old maintenance locker, took the freight elevator straight to level 7. The lights flickered. The deeper I went, the more the air changed, thicker, damper, like breathing through wet cloth. At the level 7 checkpoint, the metal gate to level 8 had scorch marks, like it had been blown open from the inside. My radio crackled, then a voice. "Mike, don't." Not Rodriguez. Someone else, or something else. I stepped through. Level 8 didn't feel like the rest of the mine. The walls weren't reinforced. No equipment, no rails or wiring. Just rough stone and a long, narrow tunnel stretching into blackness. My helmet light barely reached 5 feet ahead. And still, I walked. The air got colder. Time slowed. My watch stopped ticking at some point. I should have turned back. But then I heard it again. Rodriguez, screaming. I ran down the shaft, deeper and deeper until I hit a cavern. Massive, unnatural. The walls pulsed like a throat. And in the center, Rodriguez, or what was left of him. He stood facing the wall, skin pale, stretched thin over his bones. His helmet was cracked, his eyes solid black, not empty, but full of something, moving, writhing. He turned to me and smiled. "Mike, you came." And then I saw the others. Dozens of them, miners, dead,
missing for decades, all standing in the shadows, watching, smiling. They began to move toward me in unison. No footsteps, no sound, just whispers. Join us. It's better in the dark. Beneath the world. I ran. I don't remember how I got out. Just that I collapsed near the elevator on level 7. My helmet was gone. So was my radio. My flashlight had melted, literally melted. Security found me 6 hours later, drenched in mud, ranting about whispers and black-eyed men. They think I lost my mind, put me on psychiatric leave. But I know what I saw. I went back to my apartment, slept for 12 hours straight, and when I woke up, there was a voicemail. No number, just static, and a voice underneath it all. Rodriguez, Mike, you brought it back with you. Now I don't sleep, because when I do, I'm back there. And sometimes when I open my eyes in the morning, they're not my eyes anymore. So please, if you ever work a mine and they tell you not to go below a certain level, listen, because some places under the earth aren't part of this world anymore.
There are some places that time forgets, and others that remember too much. Sunflower Park was one of those places. Abandoned yet alive, forgotten yet waiting. My name is Daniel Crest. I was hired as a night security guard for the remains of Sunflower Park. They told me the pay was good because it was just routine surveillance. They didn't mention the rules or the things that come out after dark. It started with a classified ad. Night guard needed, Sunflower Park grounds, must work alone, high pay, discretion required. I thought it was a prank, but they called me within the hour. No interviews, just instructions. You'll work from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., patrol every hour, never leave the booth after 3 a.m., lock all gates before 12, and follow the rules. The man's voice was flat, robotic. Before I could ask what rules, the line went dead. The first night, I arrived early. The entrance gate groaned like it hadn't opened in years. Tall weeds strangled rusted rides. Broken clown heads lay half buried in the mud. A carousel sat in the center like a forgotten altar, its horses frozen mid-scream. Sound, crunch of boots on gravel, distant calliope music echoing faintly. Inside the guard booth, I found the rule sheet. Do not look at the mirrors on the funhouse walls after midnight. If you hear the carousel music playing, check that no one is riding it. If someone is, do not approach. The clown statue in the arcade must face the door. If it turns, fix it. Patrol every hour, but never after 3 a.m. If you hear laughter behind you, don't turn around. If something knocks on the glass, do not acknowledge it. It wants to be let in. Leave before 6 a.m. No exceptions. My hands trembled, but I stayed. My flashlight flickered the moment I stepped outside. The air was wrong, too thick, like it was watching. Near the arcade, I saw the clown statue. Its face was cracked, its smile painted wide. It stared at the wall. I turned to check the carousel. That's when I heard it. Tinkling music. Software faint, growing louder. The carousel was moving, slow, methodical, and someone was sitting on one of the horses. It was a girl. Pale, long black hair, arms limp at her sides. She didn't move, didn't blink. Her eyes were all black. The music cut off. I blinked, and she was gone. I ran back to the booth, but something was waiting. It started as a giggle, then more joined in, childlike, high-pitched, circling me. I pressed my back to the booth door. I remembered rule number 5. If you hear laughter behind you, don't turn around. So I stared at the wall for 30 minutes, not blinking, not moving, and eventually, laughter faded. Midnight. I had to check the funhouse. Inside, everything reeked of mildew and mold. The mirrors were cracked and warped. Some melted like plastic. I kept my head down, avoided the reflections, but I felt them shifting, changing, watching. I caught a glimpse of myself by accident, only it wasn't me. It smiled when I didn't. Back in the arcade, I found the clown statue again. This time, it was facing me. Its painted eyes dripped something dark. Its mouth was open wider than before. I turned it back to the door, but the moment I stepped away, thump, glass knock. Someone knocked on the window. It was a woman, in a vintage park uniform, smiling, hollow. Her eyes were blank, and she whispered through the glass, "Let me in, Danny. I know you're cold." I froze. Rule number 6, do not acknowledge it. She knocked again, harder, and then she screamed. A shriek so loud the glass cracked. Then she vanished. I watched the clock. 15 minutes, until 3. My flashlight flickered again. And that's when the power died. Everything went pitch black. Sound, metal dragging, whispering voices, carousel music warped. I curled in the corner of the booth and waited. And then I heard it. Footsteps, right outside the door. Something scraped its fingers across the glass and whispered, "Turn around." A week later, I got a postcard. No return address, just 2 words, "Come back." On the back was a photo of me, standing at the carousel. But I wasn't alone. That little girl with the black eyes was holding my hand. Sunflower Park still stands, waiting for its next visitor. If you ever see a job listing for a night guard at an old amusement park, burn it. Some things aren't abandoned. They're bait.
I took this job because I thought it would be easy. Night security at an old downtown hotel that's currently being renovated. The guests are gone, the electricity is unreliable, and only 1 floor is lit. I'm the only one here from midnight to 6 a.m. No noise, no people. Just a flashlight, a radio, and long, silent hallways. It was peaceful for the first few nights. Then on Thursday night, I got a call at the front desk. I wasn't expecting it. The phones shouldn't even work. But it rang, loud and shrill, like it had been waiting years to be heard. I picked up. "Hello?" Silence. Then static. Then a child's voice. "Can you bring me the key? Mommy locked the door. It's dark." I froze. I checked the number. Room 404. But here's the thing. The hotel only has 3 floors. I asked my supervisor the next day. He chuckled, said it was probably a prank, or interference from the construction crew. But I couldn't stop thinking about that voice. So innocent. So sad. I started looking through the old schematics in the basement office. That's when I found it. A faded blueprint from 1956. A 4th floor, labeled "Closed permanently due to fire." There were no further records, no mention in the public registry. It was like it had been erased from history, except for one room, room 404. The next night, I brought the master key. I told myself it was just for peace of mind. As soon as I stepped into the stairwell, I heard it again. The phone ringing, echoing softly above me. But there was no 4th floor on the elevator panel. The stairwell ended at 3. Still, I climbed. And that's when I saw it. A small rusted metal door with no knob, painted black. Numbers scratched into it with something sharp. 404. I don't remember unlocking it. I remember my hand moving. I remember the cold that hit me when the door creaked open. And then I was inside. It wasn't just a room. It was a snapshot in time. Scorched wallpaper peeled from the walls. A radio in the corner played faint 1950s music. The melody slowed and reversed. Flashes of fire, people screaming in reverse. Blackened furniture unburning itself. And in the center, standing perfectly still, was a little girl in a white dress. Her face was blurry,
not just hard to see. It was like her face, refused to be seen. She held an old rotary phone in her hands. The cord was cut. Still, it rang. She held it out to me. "Take it," she whispered. I didn't. I couldn't. But something behind me did. The door slammed shut. The walls groaned. Smoke curled under the floorboards. Mirrors along the hallway outside cracked one by one, and then I was back in the lobby. My shift was over, but now, every night, no matter where I am, my phone rings at midnight. The caller ID just says 404. They called it the house that Livestreamed itself. Nobody knows who set up the stream. Nobody claimed the footage. But for 43 straight days, the live stream stayed online. A single fixed camera, pointed at the doorway of an old abandoned farmhouse in upstate New York. No music, no narration, just silence. And every night, at 3:33 a.m., something would move across the frame. At first, it was just shadows. Then, a child. Then, something else. The house had been empty for 27 years. The locals never went near it. Not since the Graywell incident in 1998. That's what the newspapers called it. A family of 4 had moved in. The Graywells. 2 parents, 2 daughters. They lasted 6 weeks. One night, a neighbor heard screaming. By the time the sheriff arrived, the family was gone. No bodies, no signs of a struggle. Just the family dog, found in the pantry, tail between its legs, blind in both eyes. The case went cold. But then, in 2024, the livestream appeared on TikTok, at Haunt Trackers Live. No voice, no description, just the caption, Room 0, Day 1. People thought it was an ARG, a horror game, something fake, until Day 6. That night, 1.2 million people watched as a figure, small, pale, and barefoot, walked slowly through the frame. It paused, looked at the camera, and whispered, "We never left." The clip went viral. TikTok banned the account the next day, but other users downloaded it, spread it, enhanced the audio. Frame-by-frame analysis showed 4 shadowy figures behind the girl, just barely visible, too tall, too still, like mannequins or corpses. Day 13, the door opened on its own. Day 18, the screen flickered. For 0.3 seconds, the frame showed the inside of a basement, where someone was digging. Day 27, a child's voice was heard singing the "Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep" prayer, backwards. Day 34, blood smeared across the lens. When it cleared, the camera had moved 6 inches. No one knew how. Day 41, the number 98 was written on the door in ash. And on day 43, the live stream ended. Not with a glitch, not with static, but with a voice. "You're next." The police were called. Investigators went to the property. There were no cameras, no Wi-Fi, no evidence anyone had been inside in decades. But in the basement, they found 4 skeletons, a man, a woman, 2 girls. DNA confirmed it, the Graywells. They had never left. They had been buried beneath the house all along. But here's the thing. If you search TikTok right now, you'll find a few new accounts. Quiet, empty. But if you follow them, really follow them, they all go live at 3:33 a.m. And if you watch closely, sometimes you'll see that same girl, looking into the camera, still